just the way it is. Things will never be the same. That's just the way it is.
Once in a while, somebody walks into our life, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, sometimes by pure coincidence, and sometimes planned. And the documentary we're going to watch today features a researcher named Michael Rupert. He was a former LAPD narc officer, but he expanded way into other areas of various conspiracies or so, if you want to call it. Keep in mind here, we're not interested in conspiracy theories. We are very much interested in conspiracy facts. And yeah, you can go ahead and you can take it too. So in this particular one, he talks about all these various apocalyptic situations, if you want to call it that we are facing as a human race, as a human species. And he also provides some solutions. Now, by pure coincidence, I was in Oregon. This is like 10, 11 years ago. And he was giving a lecture at Oregon State University. I had gone to another lecture, and then I was just goofing off the campus, and I just followed the crowd into this huge auditorium where he was lecturing. I had no idea who he was. And what I heard changed the course of my life, to put it mildly. He was giving a speech, I think it was titled Crossing the Rubicon, Truths and Lies of 9/11. And after listening to this 3.5-hour speech, which really felt more like watching a suspense drama, that's how I felt like. I felt the entire course of my life had changed. I felt the veil that was in front of me was lifted. And suddenly, I was seeing things for what they are, or seeing it from a different perspective. So in this particular documentary we're going to watch, called Collapse. It was made in 2009. It predicted a lot of things that are happening right now. This person, Michael Rupert, is probably a modern prophet, if you want to call it that. But he doesn't necessarily come from a spiritual or religious background. He comes from the police, detective, narc officer background. So he approaches these issues from a very investigative perspective. So it's going to be mind-boggling. It's probably one of the best documentaries that you ever are going to be exposed to in your careers as academics. What were some of the solutions? If you notice, he was giving some solutions to this desperate situation. Remember, diagnosing the problem correctly, academically, objectively is 50% of the solution. So what were some of the solutions? Buy seeds.
Self-sustainability.
Self-sustainability.
Within a village or
community.
Build a community.
Going back to the tribal models, everything is going to be localized. What else? Yeah, Rick.
Accumulate gold.
What's that?
Accumulate gold.
Okay, now that's the controversial part, because if there is going to be a systematic collapse, you won't be able to eat gold.
Right.
So
You gotta have a barter system.
the whole thing with gold or silver is for bartering. And believe me, if it comes down to that, we won't be bartering gold or silver. We'll be bartering
Or
commodities.
sheep.
Yeah,
Sheeps and cotton.
Yes, so 3 things I would personally recommend to you, to be prepared for this situation, and it's happening. Okay, the wheel has started. Invest in non-perishable foods and seeds. And remember, he said not the what do you call it? Monsanto Dracolian seeds, right? Number 1. Number 2, invest in sustainable energy, clean energy. Solar would be a good way to go as far as heating your home where we live. And number 3 is the one that I personally don't believe in, because I am a peace activist. But unfortunately, when the system collapses and the social order breaks down, the police sure as hell are not going to protect us. So lots of guns.
Yeah.
Remember what happened with Katrina?
Yes.
Right? People had to protect their own property. So what else? What other solutions did we discuss? Did he discuss in the video?
Buy a farm.
Investing in land. So you can
That's
grow your
fine.
own food. So learning how to use the soil, how to tend the soil, how to grow food. What else did he say?
First aid.
Huh?
Just living in nature, pretty much.
Being able to survive in nature.
First aid.
First aid, knowing some holistic remedies to problems, because you're not going to be able to go to a local CVS and get the medication, Deshaun.
I was thinking about that. I just watched the show Doomsday Breakfast. Here comes Sunny, but when you look at it, you're preparing for whatever can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look online, you can't find any ways to like make homemade like antibodies or try to find different ways to have like certain antibodies on hand or if anything does something like that. It's like the internet to try to keep that off of there.
Right.
You know, once you be prepared.
Okay. What else?
My
And
opinion.
David.
Seeds are absolutely worthless if you don't restore the soil.
Exactly. So knowing how to restore and tend to the soil. Alex.
I think even more important than all these tangible things you're talking about, it's more about going almost backwards to the basics. Everyone has a
Yeah,
phone,
go to the
everyone has a
ABCs.
book, everyone has a computer.
Right.
So you think you know how to do it. I'll just look it up.
Yeah.
It's about going backwards and really getting in touch with, do you really know or do you know how to find out?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's about changing the mindset.
Changing our
Because you
paradigms.
think you know.
Yeah.
Because I can go out and buy $10,000 worth of gold.
Right.
But are you going to know what to do with it? When
Yeah.
you really that's what I think is the overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Changing our attitudes, because things are going to be diametrically different than the way they are.
Go live with the Amish for a while.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other things that you got out of this? So
Oh
change-
yeah. Also, he said like to completely just ignore what the media has to say.
We talk about that regularly in this class. Completely ignore the mainstream media. Do not get your news from the mainstream media. You're just going to get brainwashed. Joseph.
I think it's very important to be with people who will believe. And
So having a sense of community,
yes,
right?
what you
Because
believe.
we live in a ruggedly individualistic culture, and we have sort of incubated ourselves into our little homes, or some of us large homes, and we have forgotten the art of communal living. Those who are going to survive in a communal, team-oriented atmosphere are the ones that are going to survive. Yeah.
Also, like live like for the moments in life, you know, like have hope, pray.
Well, how do we have hope? It's a hopeless situation. Right? How do we have hope? How do we have hope
God.
in a hopeless situation? Change our paradigms. Change is very
Change
easy.
your mindset completely.
Yeah.
If you want something, you can change. You can alter your mind absolutely.
Right.
Why worry and spend all your time worrying and not sleeping at night? Oh my God, because we're gonna have this Armageddon.
Right.
When you could just, smile and be good to others in
Right.
the meantime.
So remember we talked about the locus of control?
Control, yeah.
Remember that in the lecture, locus of control? Some of these things are going to be outside of the limitations of our locus of control. Alex.
One thing he touched on slightly that I've always thought about is he touched on bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen some bubbles in our lifetime, and we'll probably see more. What he was talking about was a human population bubble.
Yes.
And I've always thought about that. I mean, this planet can only support so many people.
Mhm.
And he mentioned that there's been a drastic increase in the human population in the past.
Yeah, and the only reason that we've had this drastic increase in the Earth's population is because of cheap energy, cheap petroleum. That time is coming to an end.
So that's
Cheap
gonna be
petrol
a
is
big-
finished.
I think that's going to be one of the biggest issues when we face this problem.
Yeah. So he mentioned it's going to be massive
That's
starvation.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, get those M16s ready.
Seriously.
Yeah, Mitch.
The one thing I didn't get is he went through like the whole historical build up of coal and oil and all that, and built it up to this climax of like society collapsing.
Right.
But he was talking about how we need to look back on history to be able to realize, what to do right, I guess.
Right.
But he wasn't saying how everything's different now. Like we have the technology, so when let's say like the collapse in
Greece.
where it was it
Greece.
Greece.
Oh no. I mentioned it in the video. I'm trying to
Oh,
remember.
North Korea and
Yeah, North
Cuba.
Korea,
The Soviet Union collapsed.
Yeah, but that was before we had like the technology to, let's say, like communication, where we can communicate much quicker. So maybe we know Korea would shut down, so another country would support Korea to try to stop it later on from Korea or something,
Mhm.
wherever.
But that would require, again, a change in paradigm, which would require a spirit of collaboration. When you're competing, if you're going to compete with each other over very limited resources, do you think collaboration is going to be a big... I don't think so.
No.
If anything human history has shown is that you're going to be scared when scarcity hits, people are going to be, competing for these resources. So whoever's got the bigger guns or the best technology is going to have the upper hand. Takashi.
What you're saying right there is that just like Darwinism?
Social Darwinism? Yeah, you said it's Darwinism in practice. It doesn't even have to be so. So it's going to be crazy. David.
Currently, I mean, how many people are starving throughout the world right now? Millions and millions and
Half the
millions.
world.
Yeah.
But they've already determined there's enough food on the planet for everyone. So why are people starving?
Because of unequal
Because
distribution.
of economics.
Yeah.
They can't afford to get the food to the people.
Real money.
And at some point, it's not going to be, I mean, we contribute right now. And there's a lot of politics that get in the way of feeding those people. But at some point, we're going to say, you know what? We need to feed our people instead of those people. And, I mean, attrition is going to happen very quickly.
Do you know about, since we're into conspiracy facts, have you heard about the cheese mines in Montana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked through, they have an online video now where it actually goes through and gives you like a tour of it.
Yeah.
That place is huge. It's like bigger than Fort Knox.
That was
That's
so
like
loud.
more weight in cheese than Fort Knox has in gold.
Yeah.
Which is billions of dollars worth of cheese, which
Yeah.
is valued at nothing. So
Right.
that's like trillions of pounds of cheese probably.
Right, right.
And, yeah.
Talk about the richer
It's amazing.
derivatives.
It's like it's cheese from
Right.
40, 50, 100 years ago.
Yeah, and it's very high. It's very enriched in protein. So
I'm talking about cheese, like
Like cheese.
Cheese, like you eat, you know?
It has a,
Wisconsin.
why
yeah,
did you
there's like a cave in
Big
Montana
for this
where it's just
in
cheese.
preparation.
Like,
Because it's
140,000
protein.
pounds of cheese.
Why
That's what we
Protein.
sound like Iraq when we send them cheese. We're sending them like this cheese we've been saving for 50 years. It's like, you can save cheese forever.
Okay.
Because you can save cheese forever, you know? It won't go bad. There's no expiration
Okay,
date on it.
Felipe has a question. One at a time.
just
Felipe.
wondering, the mental model as of Cuba, how they're living on the land.
Yes.
I think that's a good mental model.
Yeah, it's proven. We already have models of collapse, and we have solutions because they've been experimented. The Cuban model is very effective. People
Obviously they're working for the last
occupying the
year.
land and growing their own food locally instead of the cost of shipping the food. And they say they never ate as good
As they have now, yeah.
as now. Now there is this theory called the 100th monkey theory. Okay. Yes. Let me just go over that real quick for people who don't know. They actually did an experiment at the end of World War II. They bombed an island somewhere in the Pacific. And this island was occupied by monkeys, a primate of monkeys. And a lot of monkeys were dying, not because of the bombing, but because of the radioactivity in food. And a bunch of social psychologists got together and they started teaching these monkeys to wash the coconut, for example, in the streams before eating it to avoid the radioactivity. So first, you have 10 monkeys doing it, then you got 20, you got 30, and the rest of the monkeys are observing this, and the monkeys that are washing their coconuts are surviving. They're not dying like the rest. Until it got to the 100th monkey. When the 100th monkey started washing it, the entire population of 10,000 emulated what the 100 monkeys were doing. And that's when you achieve critical mass. That's how you can turn things around. Through peer pressure, if you want to call it that, or groupthink. Remember groupthink? But with a positive sort of twist into it, the rest will follow. We've been talking about these scenarios for 30 years. Nobody was listening then. Suddenly everybody is listening now. We have the people in our grasp. And this is how we can implement change, because we have the audience. People are actually seeing systematic collapse. When you lose your job, when you lose your wife because your home has gone to foreclosure. If you had a job, if you still have a job, but you're in constant paranoia and an anxiety about that job being exported to China and India, and you're operating in this sustained patterns of an anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then things will start changing. Remember the 5-step model? Denial, anger, negotiation, depression, and acceptance. And he said we're just at the threshold of the anger phase. So we still got the bargaining and the depression, and the acceptance hopefully would come out of it. We're still at the very early stage of this. we have a long way to go. I mean, collectively, some of us are at the acceptance level. An evolved soul like him is obviously at the acceptance level and is coming up with solutions. He actually mentioned a lot of solutions in this video. You had your hand up.
I was just gonna say, I think this has been around for longer than that because they have the one theory from like industrial England where it's like the maximum capacity with like the food production levels and all that.
Yeah.
They predicted the end of.
In the mid-70s, remember the professor that testified before the Congress? 74. We've known this thing, we've known about peak oil since the early 70s. People have just been in denial about it. Carter gave his very famous speech in 76. It was labeled as the malaise speech. Remember that? Those of you are old enough? 76, he put up the solar panels on the White House. What does Reagan do when he gets into office? He gets rid of the solar panel. Right? What was that famous commercial? Remember the famous commercial in 1983 or 84 that the sun is rising in America or something to that effect? We went into that sort of denial phase right away. This stuff has been out for a long time. People are just realizing it now because we've felt what could happen in 08 when the financial system collapsed. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Anybody else with any other feedback on this? Anybody? Teresa? Have anything to say? No. Anybody else? Anybody? Do you feel more educated?
Yes.
Do you feel more enlightened as
Yes.
a result of watching this? Right? Are you exposed to things you weren't thinking about before?
Yes.
Go out into the world and make a change. There's a Navajo Indian proverb that says, "Ego amato." It all starts with you. One person at a time. And then collectively you make a change. Okay, we'll see you next week. Next week.